Hey, I thought I'd get your attention real quick by giving some things away. Anybody ever been caught doing a drug deal in a hotel room? All right, you got it. Right there, sir. You raise your hand first. Anybody like John Lennon? All right, you got it right here. Anybody interested in the Denver Beats? Okay, right there, sir. I can't see very far, so the hands in front kind of, they got it, okay. That's a corporate trick to get everybody's attention. You give things away. Little story called No Going Back. I arrive in Denver on the 4th day of July in 1975. My girlfriend, let's call her Crazy, had wanted to experience Jack Kerouac and Neal Cassady's The West. And so I had resigned from my tenured position in Jersey and moved here. We found a second-floor apartment at 14th and Elizabeth and set about reinventing ourselves. I found work as a waiter making more money than I had as a teacher and commenced the life of a bohemian, writing poetry and starting work on my first great American novel, activities my former career had precluded me from indulging in. I found pleasure in my disassociation from all that had been before and reveled in my newfound anonymity, writing in longhand on my kitchen table such things as my teenage gang membership, my degree in physics, my tenure as an educator had little to do with my new life. Quite aware I was that I would never return to that old life. Sadly, my girlfriend Crazy embraced not the uncertainties of living in the West as an artist, and by October, Crazy was back in New York City, never to return. Now, during the time we lived in Congress Park, we were friendly with a couple who lived there also, Rick and Sandy. Rick was a folk singer and social worker, and Sandy was, well, Sandy was a wee bit strange as she was beautiful. Sandy and Crazy had been summer friends, a friendship based on the similarity of their upbringing and, in retrospect, their fragile mental health. Both were sexy and exotic. Crazy was a Mediterranean beauty and Sandy was archetypal Aryan, and both women expected men to take care of the mundane matters of life, like making a living. Both had been raised by wealthy parents in exclusive gated enclaves, Crazy in Wellesley, Massachusetts, and Sandy in the Bahamas. I secretly enjoyed eyeballing Crazy and Sandy from my writing table window as they sat late afternoons on the front porch. My first fantasies of infidelity and the other women were incited by the vision of the two of them, smoking cigarettes and drinking wine, rocking side by side on the porch glider, gossiping about who knows what. Shortly before Crazy left Colorado, I bought a house on Pearl Street and lost contact with Rick and Sandy. Crazy's leaving me was brutal, for I was deeply in love with the woman I imagined her to be, and I sought to numb my pain with alcohol and drugs. On my evenings off, I'd prowl Congress Park and bar hop Colfax Avenue, places we had loved, on foot in a nostalgic hunt for the ghost of Crazy. And one night, I encountered Sandy outside the 7-Eleven on York Street. She lit up when she saw me, and her hug had a hint of sexual innuendo that was hard to ignore. She clung to me like a child clings to a favorite grandparent or a favorite toy, like the lost to their savior. I asked after Rick, and Sandy told me he was in the hospital. Minor surgery had corrected a herniated disc, but he'd be in recovery and physical therapy for another week. She asked after Crazy, and her eyes got sparkly when I told her of my ex's return east. I do believe she actually licked her lips with a serpentine tongue as she lost herself in thought. And then she asked if I'd give her a ride to the hospital sometime soon, as she had not been able to visit Rick. Public transportation, its schedules, and transferring was beyond her. So, with a wee bit of lust lurking in the shadows of my intentions, I arrived next morning at my old apartment. Sandy and Rick lived on the ground floor, and she was waiting on the communal front porch. She bubbled with excitement as she flew the length of the walk. All the way to the hospital in Thornton, she gossiped about Rick and his increasing demands on her abilities. She practically hissed a litany of things that needed redress. Did Rick actually expect to return home to an organized apartment, one without dirty dishes and piles of laundry? Did Rick really expect her to keep track of her medication and her dirty clothes? Suffice it to say, Sandy was all over the map, mentally and physically. She constantly changed stations on the radio, rolled her window up and down and up, squirmed, one might say, writhed in her seat, all the while prattling on about Rick's peccadillos, his dislike of clutter and certain sexual practices, his Zen stance on organization, his absurd talk of finances and the future, as if money or tomorrow matter. She never cleaned house in her life, and she was not about to play maid, even though Rick brought home the bacon. The entire trip was a harangue of non sequiturs and chastisements of Rick and his expectations. At the hospital, there were other telling revelations. Sandy had forgotten to bring Rick his guitar, left it on the porch. She'd failed to bring his checkbook, couldn't find it. She'd not remembered his request to bring a few joints. I don't know how to roll. She hardly looked at Rick, and when she left to use the restroom, Rick confided in me his assessment. Sandy's off her meds. Look out, Eddie. Her demons are as venomous and real as she is beautiful and flighty. On the way back to Denver, Sandy announced her intentions. She'd be leaving Rick in the Elizabeth Arms tomorrow. And could I, she asked, move in with you? A tricky question. One I had no sure answer for, to say the least. On the one hand, I was entranced by the blue-eyed blonde beauty that was Sandy. Even though I had been deeply in love with Crazy, I had sensed an unfulfilled desire in Sandy when I'd first met her and Rick, a passion I imagined I might be able to satiate. I remember sensing Crazy had picked up on my feelings about Sandy. My girlfriend had been especially assertive making love or remaining time with me, going as far as to fake or maybe even achieve multiple orgasms. And now here was Sandy coming on to me, bringing into focus my loneliness and horniness and longing for what I'd had with Crazy. But on the other hand, there was Rick's mention of Sandy's demons and her medications. So I played it safe. Hey, Sandy, how about I come by tomorrow? Last night, tonight, it's been a blur of intoxicating emotions, like a whirlwind in my heart. I get it that you and Rick are done for. Yet, being with you, I can't help but think about Crazy. You two were like sisters. And I will admit that even when I was in love with Crazy, I used to think about you. You are a beautiful woman. Let's do breakfast at Pete's Kitchen in the morning. I need a night to think about your moving in with me. And I'm not sure if you're talking as roommate or girlfriend. If I move in, I won't be paying rent, were her parting words as she sashayed away. Next morning, I arrive at Sandy's. Again, she's waiting on the porch. Again, down the sidewalk she flies. I've decided to give it a shot, taken up with Sandy, demons and all, and I tell her as much. You might compare my horny and bemused decision-making to a car going 90 miles an hour down a dead-end street with my dick in the driver's seat and my rational mind tied up in the trunk. All I know is that I'm game and I'm going to get laid. After a quick kiss, Sandy tells me she's going to leave it all behind. Her old clothes, her old life, her old ways, her old medicines. She wants to start her new life without baggage. All I need are a few things: toothbrush, makeup, hairbrush, boots, be back in a minute. And out of the van she flies back into the Elizabeth Arms. I await her return with all the nervousness of anyone on a fine date, on a first date, of someone about to seal his or her fate. Minutes pass, and my nervousness increases. To what have I committed? What exactly are the meds Rick spoke of? Who are the demons? More time passes. I exit my van and walk back towards the building where I once lived happily with Crazy. Ascending the steps, I see my first hint of a demon at work. Rick's Gibson guitar, against the railing, its hollow body splintered, its catgut strings gyring from the tuners like a nest of snakes, It had apparently been rammed repeatedly by the glider. A dead guitar for sure. More than a minor chill percolates under my skin as I step into the building and approach Sandy's apartment, the door to which is open. And beyond the threshold is a nightmare. The former zendo of a space is topsy-turvy with retribution and destruction. Broken, unwashed dishes fill the sink and clutter the kitchen floor and counters. Every closet and cabinet is empty, as is the open refrigerator. Foodstuffs in and out of packaging and cookware and clothing, scattered helter-skelter from kitchen to living room, constitute a maze even Daedalus could not solve. No path anywhere. The smell of sour milk mixes with the odor of soiled laundry, molding washcloths, and rotting meats and fruit. Even the temperature of the apartment is off the charts, in line with the thermostat setting that I note 88 degrees and rising. And then I sense her beside me. In her hands are the items she came back for: hairbrush, toothbrush, lipstick. She's wearing white cowgirl boots. She looks not at the destruction she has wrought. Rather, she looks piercingly at me, as if there's nothing in the world but me. She quickly and haphazardly paints her lips with the purple lipstick and then brushes her cascading hair slowly while her eyes pay me their full attention. Then she unbuttons her blouse. She wears no bra. She empties her hands of brushes and makeup, all of which join the mess on the floor. She steps forward and falls to her knees in front of me, unzipping my pants with a quick work of fingers. I close my eyes to the scene around me, to the world I know, as she takes me and swallows me ravenously, dead set determined to make me unaware of her demons. But standing there, as I approach orgasm, I see in my mind's eye unfolding visions of snakes and birds. They slither and flutter all around as they escape from her mouth and leak out of her eyes. I press the back of her head against my body in an attempt to escape the visions, to return to the tactile, the sexual, the here and now. But my hand's first touch of the back of her head, my first skin to scalp, is met with a cruel rebuke that kills more than my sexual buzz, a warning that she practically squawks. "Don't ever touch the back of my head. You can have the rest of me, my breasts, my lips, my ass, but my head belongs to them." Then with her arms slowly undulating and her fingers fluttering, I sense for sure the nature of her demons, the vipers and raptors to whom her head belongs. Her Ophidian dance of arms and quivering flicker of digits ends with her going catatonic as she kneels. Then she unwinds cobra-like as she coils to the floor asleep. When she awakens later, she's docile, almost penitent. She knows I won't be taking her to my house, that I've seen her madness, literally and figuratively. She asks that I take her to Denver General, to the psychiatric ward. "They know me there," she whispers. I drive to 6th and Bannock. We sit silent in the parking lot for quite a time before she leaves me alone in my misery, bewildered and bewitched, and now with visions of snakes and raptors leaking out of my mind's eye into my memory. 2 days ago, I was simply lonely. Now I will be forever hungry to go to a place to which I know I cannot return. Thank you.